Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to Golden Setups. I'm your host, Golden Focus, and I'm here to show you another how I traded SPX video. Today, I did a 380% trade, and I'm going to walk you through this. And so, let's see. This morning we had a nice little big run up. I'm looking at the hourly right now. This is the hourly chart. We had a nice little big run up. You see my levels here. I got a level here on the futures here. This is ES, and so I do look at ES when I'm trading SPX. I like it as a source of truth, and you can see it hit my level of 4188.5. It hit the level, and then new candle. I kind of waited for the new candle, and noticed that we had a hard time reaching back up to that level. Once I noticed that we had a hard time reaching back to that level, this is on the hourly, I scaled down to my lower time frames, which is going to be my 5-minute and 1-minute charts. And so I would say I spend like good 80% of my time on the 5-minute chart. But I like to pinpoint my entries on the 1-minute. And so I got SPX over here. I got SPY over here on the 1-minute. These are 1 minutes up here, and then there's a 5-minute down here. All right, let me get straight back to it. And so, we hit this level right here. This is SPY, by the way. So right, they kind of move in tandem, and so they hit this level right here. You can see I have a red line over here. This is a higher time frame strong level right here. The gray lines are lower time frame levels. Nevertheless, they still hold up really well. Charted this like 6 months ago. Nevertheless, we hit that and had a hard time reaching up, just like we saw on the hourly. By the time I came back, we were on this candle over here, and this trend line, by the way, was more like this over here, right? This trend line was more like this, something like that. There you go, like that, something more like this. All right, and yeah, we had a nice big drop. Okay, and then after that, during that drop, I wanted to get in, but I was not really certain that we were going to continue. I didn't want to get caught up because we hit the VWAP and then we bounced right back up. And to be honest with you, I was quite late, and so I was like, okay, cool. If it dropped and it moved back up, and so I was like, okay, here, this might be an opportunity. New candle, we moved up, but this is where we had a hard time trying to get back up to this level. And I told myself, once we cross back over the body of this previous candle, I'm going to go ahead and get in an aggressive entry. I went ahead and moved this trend line down. We did end up crossing back over here, and that was my first entry, represented over here on the hourly. This is going to be my first entry over here. All right, and then after that, once we crossed over the trend line, this moved pretty fast this morning. Once we crossed over the trend line, I am a trend line trader, by the way, guys. My trade plan is very simple, and so this followed the rules of my trade plan. As soon as I did get into an aggressive entry, which did not follow the rules of my trade plan. I did go light, but I did go heavier once we broke down below my trade plan and actually followed the trade plan there. And so I did add into my position. And you can see that here by the second arrow over here. And then as we continue to move down, once we broke the trend on the hourly here, and just so to show you where I'm drawing this trend line from, this is all the way back from April 13th. So I just drew that trend line connecting, this candle over here to this over here, and I knew that this kind of stood up because this candle did not want to close below this trend line, validating that this is a very good trend. And the way I look at trend lines, by the way, it's diagonal lines of support and resistance. That's how I see them, and they do stand up, right? And so anyhow, and typically, once we break above trend lines, especially trend lines that has been, holding up as resistance, once we break down below, that is a great sign of weakness. And so once we broke down below that here on the hourly, I went ahead and added more into my position. My plan, it's always good to make sure you have a plan on when you're getting out. Don't just hold until forever, right? Price does not move in one direction forever. Trust me, you'll learn that the hard way. I learned it the hard way over time. I've been trading for over 7 years now. So nevertheless, we broke down below on the hourly, below the 9, we broke down below the 20. My plan to get out was at this bright white line. This bright white line, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and switch to the higher time frame. All right, this is the daily. Okay, watch this on the daily. Watch this. This is really cool, right? Watch this. This is what we've been doing so far, on the daily, right? We've been kind of like in a little bit of a wedge, right? And so I connected this candle down to this candle, and we had our our top trend line for our wedge, and then we also have our bottom one over here. And so that has been holding up pretty well. Also got a supply zone over here, a higher time frame. But it's been holding up really well. I'm going to scale back down to the hourly here, and I'm going to show you that same bright white line. You can see over here. Check out how it's been holding up, right? Failed to close above, right? Close below the red, below this line, this trend line over here. Look up here. We couldn't stay above here by any means. And then once we, check this out. Look at this. Once we did get down below it, we failed to close above it, and then we continued down from there. And so this is what I'm talking about: diagonal lines of support and resistance. All right, this is what I'm talking about right here. Anyway, and anyhow, that was just a touch. So coming back to the hourly, coming back to where I got into my trade. This is the reason why it's been holding up as resistance a lot, right? This is resistance, so to speak. We finally break up and close above it on the higher time frame on the daily. We get up, we hit this level, we move down, we cross over this trend line. I talked about how I got into this. I added to my position here, and my plan to get out was right here, right at this very top part of this wedge, this top trend line over here. Because I didn't want it to bounce on me, right? I didn't want it to bounce on me. So anyhow, second we got down here, let me go ahead and switch over to the lower time frames. Okay. All of this was validated on the lower time frames. Once I got in, I felt really comfortable. I look at the 9 and 20 a little bit different than most people. We drop below the 9, drop below the 20, drop below the VWAP. VWAP are these dotted lines. The 9 is the red line. The yellow is the 20. All right. And this is SMA, by the way. We dropped below both of them, rejected the SMA to the downside. Beautiful 3-bar play to the downside, and also represented on the 1 minute as a flag. And, typically when we have momentum like this, we do flag at least 2 times. Sometimes they happen in 3s. And so this was like a 2-3 stage flag, 2 to 3 stage drop that I was expecting because of this momentum. And so we dropped all the way down. This purple line is the 200-day moving average on the 5 minute. You can see how we just kind of popped right off of this purple line over here. And I'm still in the trade, by the way. I am unloading, by the way. I actually am unloading. I unloaded somewhere, I would say, this is like later around, like getting close to 11. I did unload right around here. Most of my position. I want to say a good, maybe I believe I want to say 80% of my position. 80 to 85% position. I went ahead and unloaded here, and then after that, once we broke down below that, I did unload more over here. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to find out what was going on. Plus, we started moving really slow. And so what that looks like, I was looking at the lower time frames to kind of manage my trade. I noticed that we kept rejecting the 9, rejecting the 9, rejecting the 9. You can see here, then this red line over here, this is the 9-day SMA. You see this constant rejection, failure to close above it. And then it was very interesting. Again, I'm in my trade. I still got like, I think 15 to 20% of my trade still holding on to it. And so I've locked in my gains, my profits. My goffets, locked in my gains here. And I saw something interesting. We started like really rejecting hard off of this 200-day moving average on the 5 minute here. And, this is where I shine right here. This is, if you see this trend line right here, like I said, I'm a trend line trader. And my kind of like my golden setup, if you will, are going to be these type of flags on the 5 minute, right? These type of flags on the 5 minute. And so beautiful. We did break down below, and right around here is where I got out. Right around here is where I got out, right? Typically I'd get out the trade around here, but I sold into strength on the way down. I was really happy about that. The other trades, though, I didn't sell into strength. I think I sold on a green candle. I'm not too happy about that. I sold right off of the bounce. There was a bit of a bounce off of this bright white line. So I wasn't happy about that. But I did sell into strength on the way down here, and I was happy about that. And so 380% trade on SPX, really happy about that. But then after that, continue to watch, and we trended down, but it started moving really slow. Things started to really pick up over here. The contract prices wasn't really moving like I would like them to, but they were moving pretty well. And one thing to kind of point out here, again, this is part of my system, part of the things that I teach here. If you notice my levels here, you could see these weren't levels I put on the day. I mean, these are levels that have been here for months, for months, and different colors have different purposes and whatnot, but I try to keep my chart as clean as possible. Another thing I meant to mention here as well. When we came down, you notice this green box over here. This is a demand zone. So I was being very cautious as well. What kept me in the trade, usually I'm getting out of the trades when I'm coming down into demand zones, but what kept me in the trade was the fact that we kept rejecting the 9, right? This was the only candle that scared me, because we closed above the 9 for the first time, and typically when we close above the 9, the next step is we're gonna move up to the 20. But the second we tried to do that on the next candle, we rejected really hard, and then we saw that trend line break, and I felt really good about that. So nevertheless, but this was a demand zone, and you can see how this demand zone. I have a very specific way of drawing demand zones. It's been very profitable for me, and but we ate through it. We ate through the demand zone and continued on the way down. So just wanted to explain this green box while we're here. But nevertheless, like I said, you can see what happens later on, right? We start climbing up to 9, climbing up to 20, and the rest is kind of history. Really kind of ugly for the rest of the day. I'm glad I got out when I did. But anyways, coming back to the levels, you can see they hold up pretty strong, and it's one of the things that I teach. By the way, but let me pause there. Let me stop there and just kind of say thank you for watching and just giving you guys a little piece of my brain on my trade here, my SPX trade. Some people want to find out, hey, how much did you make? And I'm, at Golden Setups here, I'm going to be doing my best to stay away from talking about dollar amounts. And why do I ask that? Well, number one, if you want to learn more about dollar amounts, you can always go to, there's tons of YouTube videos out there with a lot of, quote unquote gurus, some real, some not, I'll let you decide that. It's not my business. I want everyone to succeed, but they'll talk about that, right? They'll talk about the Lamborghinis and this and this and this and that, right? And I'm not doing that for this reason. All right. The reason that I'm doing this is because I have successfully taught my 8-year-old son, 9-year-old son, 14-year-old son, and 15-year-old daughter how to trade options, and they have doubled their accounts quite a few times. And so these videos are really kind of breadcrumbs for them and their children as well. And so I don't want them looking at, oh man, daddy made $52,739 today. Oh man. And I only made $60, but that $60 trade, was like 120% trade, and so it's very difficult for someone to walk away feeling like they won when they're comparing their dollar amount against yours, even though they followed their trade, they followed their trade plan, they executed it perfectly, they came out on top, they did everything they were supposed to do, but they're still walking away feeling like a loser because they didn't make as much as you did. So I've seen that happen a lot of times with traders, even to the point to where traders they just keep doing these YOLO trades, trying to make as much as what this other guy made, right? It's very distracting. So I'm going to be doing my best not to talk about dollar amounts and really to focus on making sure, you have a solid trade plan, making sure you have a solid trade system, which, by the way, both of these things I teach, and you can feel free to go to goldensetups.com if you're interested in learning my trade plan, interested in learning about refining or setting up a trade plan, or interested in just understanding my system. This is the same system I've taught my children. And trading doesn't have to be difficult. I mean, if they can do it, you can do it. I think Einstein said if you're able to explain something complex to a child, that shows a high level of intelligence, shows that you actually understand something. And so I said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and try this thing with my children. And it's been working out really well. So that's why I don't discuss dollar amounts. But like I said, I want to encourage you, let you know that this doesn't have to be hard, doesn't have to be complex, especially if you have a solid trade plan, you have a solid trade system, anyhow. But nevertheless, if you're interested in learning, you guys know you can go to goldensetups.com. And thanks for watching. And oh yeah, please don't forget, go long on my on my like and subscribe buttons, right? Go long on my like and subscribe buttons. And nevertheless, I'll try to do these videos as often as possible. And see you guys soon. Take care.